Welcome to the Aligned Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Pooja Venkatraman. I'm a double Harvard grad, former BCG consultant, and now an executive coach for high achievers. On this podcast, we are going to tackle the 4 key things that you need to figure out in order to live a life of aligned ambition. Those 4 things are stress, productivity, performance, and purpose. We are going to make sure that you're driving your car in the direction that you actually want to go. That is the purpose part. We're also going to make sure that your progress along the road is consistent and effective. That's the productivity and performance part. And we're going to make sure that the fuel you're pouring into your tank isn't so noxious that it's filling your car with fumes and making the whole ride miserable. That is the stress part. Because if you can tackle those 4 things, stress, productivity, performance, and purpose, you can build the life and the career that you actually want. Not the life you think you're supposed to have, not the life that burns you out or doesn't fit quite right, but the life you actually want. One that fulfills your biggest ambitions and unleashes your fullest potential without sacrificing your sanity, your relationships, your authenticity, or your paycheck. A life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. That's what aligned ambition is all about. Let's get started. Hey guys, I am so excited to jump into this week's topic, which is why it's so hard for high achievers to talk to their friends and family about what to do next in their careers. So this is such a common phenomenon. I have seen it again and again with clients. It's versions of the exact same problem. And I was like, I have got to talk about this on the podcast because I don't see anyone else talking about this, but I see it all the time. And I bet people feel really alone and don't understand why this is happening. So let me explain it and tell you what to do about it. So when you are in a career transition of any kind, right? No matter what phase of the career transition you're in, whether you're just like, I have an inkling that I'm dissatisfied, that something's not quite working where I am, and you're like, should I stay? Should I go? Is it me? Is it them? I don't even know, right? You might be in that very early phase of the transition. You might also be kind of in that middle phase where you're like, okay, I'm like seriously thinking it might be time to leave. Like I'm starting to really put pen to paper, think about what I might want to do next, maybe start chatting with some people. Like seriously, I think I might be out. Or if you're kind of towards the like really activating the transition phase where you're like, I've left or I've decided I'm leaving. Like, don't even talk to me about the current job. I am actively getting clear on what I want to do next, starting to think about like what roles or, opportunities might fit in the market, starting to talk to people. Like I'm really in that phase, right? Whether you've literally left your job, if you're in consulting, you might be on transition or on search time. You might be on a sabbatical. You might have gotten laid off and been in your, be on your severance period, but you're in that phase where you're like, no, seriously, we are like figuring out what's next. So whichever phase of the career transition kind of process you might be in, it is inevitable that your career transition is going to come up in conversation socially, right? You're going to be out and about, hanging out with friends at a dinner party, and people will be like, how are things going at work? And like, you'll start talking about, well, like, I'm starting to think about what to do next, et cetera. Right? Or you might be catching up with your mentors or with people at work, and inevitably they'll be like, oh, okay, so like, what are you thinking about? Like what to do next? And of course, with your close friends, with your spouse, with anyone that you're like talking to on a regular basis, they're be pretty invested in figuring out what you want to do next, right? So this topic is going to just keep coming up, right? In these casual kind of social conversations. And by the way, these are all people that love you and care about you and want to help you. And it's like a fun, interesting question, right? They're curious, like, what are you going to end up doing next? And so they're going to ask you, what do you want to do? How can I help? What kind of roles are you looking for? Who can I connect you to? They ask these incredibly sincere and like well-meaning questions. And for some reason, these questions are not fun for people to answer. I have seen this again and again, especially if you're kind of in those like early, tender, vulnerable stages of the transition where you're like, I'm actually kind of still figuring out what am I going to do? Like all I know is something's not working. I actually don't have full clarity on like what the answer is, right? What I see again and again is that my clients leave these like very well-meaning, very caring conversations feeling more confused and kind of like more disconnected and kind of awkward and like self-doubting and like, what am I doing? And like, did I sound stupid? And I have no idea what's going on. And like, what am I even like trying to do? Right? I have so often seen my clients leave these very well-meaning conversations feeling worse than when they started. And so I just want to tell you, first off, this is really, really normal. This does not mean that you're actually off track, that you don't know what you're doing, that you're never going to figure this out, that you're stupid. It doesn't mean any of those things. It also doesn't mean you have bad friends, like a bad spouse or a bad family. Doesn't mean you ran the conversation in the wrong way and you should do something different next time. The reason this extremely normal phenomenon happens again and again to my clients and to everyone who's kind of in the middle of a career transition, contemplating a career transition, the reason this happens is because your friends, your family, and even like your mentors and bosses at work are not always the best thought partners on what you should do next in your career. Because your friends and family, what they will tend to do is what I like to call, they'll tend to fire answer bullets from the answer gun at you. Okay, I'm going to say that again. They're going to tend to pull out the answer gun, load it up full of answer bullets, point it at you, and fire a bunch of answer bullets from the answer gun at you. They genuinely want to be helpful, right? They're not actually doing this to hurt you, but the reality is they probably unconsciously want to get you out of the like ambiguity and the uncertainty of this transition, right? Most people in the world have an incredibly low ambiguity tolerance. Most people don't like to just sit with the like, I don't know, there's 17 unknown variables. Each of the variables has like a huge range of what it could be. And like, there's too many of them to even be able to solve the equation. And so just like, I don't know, most people do not like to hang out in the space of like, I don't know, and uncertainty and ambiguity, right? They don't like to read it personally. They kind of want to get you out of that space ASAP. They kind of assume that's not fun for you either. They want to be as helpful as possible. And so they shoot you with an answer bullet from the answer gun. And they're like, oh, this is so simple. This is so obvious. You should just do this. You should just go work for one of the big AI companies. And like, you know, when they like IPO, you'll make a ton of money. You should start a startup like in this space. You should do this. You should do that, right? They will just shoot you with a bullet from the gun. And like, they want to get you out of that ambiguity, out of that uncertainty, out of that questioning period. And they'll just be like, here's exactly what you should do, right? And when the answer bullet from the answer gun hits you, you don't feel relief. You don't feel clarity. You don't feel like the heavens have opened and the answer has arrived in front of you. A lot of times how you feel is you're confused. Like they said the answer with so much certainty, but you're like, wait, I don't think I agree with that, right? Like, oh, like how do I reckon with that? You also might kind of feel awkward. You're like, what do I say now? I don't want to like open a whole debate like right now in the middle of this dinner party, in the middle of this conversation. But I also like, I don't want to just be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like I feel awkward. You might feel kind of rushed and pushed. Right? You might be like, hang on. I'm still figuring this out. Like, don't push me, right? Don't rush me into the answer. Like, give me a little space to like, just think about this. You might also feel like, am I stupid? Like, are they right? Am I just overthinking this? Like, they just shot me with an answer like in 3 seconds. Is it just that simple? Like, why can't I figure this out? Right? All of that creates that confusion, that self-doubt, that awkwardness, maybe that sense of being behind or off track or not knowing what you're doing. And then you're like sitting in the middle of the dinner party or sitting in the middle of a conversation with your spouse and just like, I wish we were talking about this, right? So let me tell you why this is so normal and what's going on. I'm going to tell you exactly what they're doing wrong from a thought partnership perspective that is creating this experience for you. It doesn't mean that they're a bad friend. It doesn't mean they're a bad person or a bad teammate or a bad spouse, but I'm going to tell you they're probably making one of 4 or multiple of these 4 thought partnership mistakes, right? And that is why it's creating this experience for you. They're not bad. You're not bad, but like they maybe just don't know how to do thought partnership in a way that's most helpful for you to get clear on what's next. So let me walk you through these. Thought partnership mistake number 1, which they might be making, is they don't ask you what you want. They don't ask you what variables are you solving for. They just assume you want what they want or that you're solving for the same variables that they're solving for. So they don't ask you things like, hey, do you want stability or are you okay with risk and you want more upside? Are you okay with really long hours or do you want more time or flexibility to dedicate to other things? Are you still interested in like this space that you've been in, or are you thinking maybe you would want to pivot to a different space, right? People may not be asking you, what do you want? What variables are you solving for? When they shoot you with an answer bullet from the answer gun, a lot of times they're just assuming you want the same things that you've wanted in the past. You want the same things that they want. And so then you get kind of caught and feeling awkward with this answer where you're like, wait, that answer doesn't really feel right. But like, you just told it to me as if it's like, you know, the answer from like, you know, from the heavens, like that's the correct thing to do. They might be making this thought partnership mistake, which is not asking you what you want and just assuming you guys want the same thing. Thought partnership mistake number 2. They might ask you what you want, right? But what they don't do is they don't create space for you to explore what you want because you might not be 100% certain what you want, right? They might ask you, do you want stability or risk? Do you want long hours or flexibility? Do you want to stay in product management or do you want to pivot to something else? You might be like, I don't actually have 100% like certain answers to those questions. I've got
very squishy, like tentative answers that maybe have like a 20% level of certainty, but I am still figuring out what I even want. And this goes back to that thing I talked about, which is ambiguity tolerance and uncertainty tolerance. Most people don't have a ton of that. Most like social situations don't like create the space for lots of ambiguity tolerance, right? You're just chit-chatting. And so even if they ask you what you want and they try to like help you solve for those variables, they might be making thought partnership mistake number 2, which is like pushing you or expecting you to be more certain about what you want than you actually are, and not being able to just create the space for you to hold that uncertainty and explore it and think about it and try to build more uncertainty. They might just be like, oh, like, why don't you know what you want? Why aren't you able to answer that question? Well, let's just assume this and then solve the problem, right? Which will going to make you feel rushed and pushed and maybe like a little stupid and unclear, right? So that might be thought partnership mistake number 2 that they're making. Thought partnership mistake number 3 is that they don't validate and help you really own what you want, even if what you want is different from what they want. So let's say they even do the first 2 things. Let's say they ask you what you want, and let's say they actually even help you get clear on it if you're not totally sure what you want. The third mistake that can happen is like, if you want totally different things than what they want, there can be a little bit of like subtle judgment or just a sense of like, they don't get it, right? They're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, that makes sense, right? But in this way where you're like, oh, you're like not on board. Like you are just not getting it. You're maybe judging me. And now I feel a little weird about it, right? And so that can be thought partnership mistake number 3 is they don't validate what you want, and they don't help you own it 100% and be like, yes, this is what I want. This is my compass. This is my North Star. These are the variables I'm solving for. They don't do that for you. Instead, they're sort of like, oh, okay, I guess. Right? In response to your wants. And then you're like, oh, okay, maybe that's okay. Right? And then you feel awkward and like not as clear and like you feel a little bad, right? That's thought partnership mistake number 3. And then thought partnership mistake number 4 that your friends and family might be making when you try to talk to them about what you want to do next is they don't help you build and execute a problem-solving process. They are overly focused on the outcome. Right? They're like, can we just get to an answer? Can we just figure out what the heck you're doing? And then you like apply to the jobs and get that job and then you're done. And you're out of this like weird ambiguity, uncertainty period that I'm not enjoying, right? They are so focused on getting you to an answer that they don't help you build a process. They don't help you think about, okay, how would I even approach this question? How would I like build an exploratory process? What are the steps I would have to take in order to get clarity and get precision and get to the right next step? They're not helping you think about the process. They're just trying to drive you to an outcome, right? So those are the 4 thought partnership mistakes that your friends and family might be making when you talk to them about what you want to do next in your career. And that's why these conversations feel awkward and unhelpful. And you sort of maybe feel disconnected from them or judged by them, or like they don't really get you. And then you kind of feel stupid and you feel behind and you feel off track. That's why it's happening. They're not bad friends or family or spouses. You are not like stupid or behind or unclear or any of those things, right? But there's this disconnect happening because they're probably making one or multiple of these thought partnership mistakes, which is they don't ask. Thought partnership mistake number 1, they don't ask what you want. They just assume that you want the same things they want. Mistake number 2, they don't create space for you to explore what you want and like build certainty on it. They're like, well, you should know what you want. Why aren't you clear on this already? Mistake number 3, they don't validate and help you own what you want, even if it's different from them. Instead, they're sort of like slightly judging or just like not getting it. And then mistake number 4, they don't help you build a problem-solving process, an exploratory process for getting to the answer. They're just very focused on like the outcome of like, can we just like get there? Like, when are we going to get there? Right? So those are the 4 mistakes. That's what's happening when they shoot you with answer bullets from the answer gun. It's because they're making one or multiple of these 4 thought partnership mistakes. And that's why you hate these conversations. Okay. That's why you're like, can I just not talk about this with people? And this is also why it is so freaking helpful to have a coach help you navigate this transition, because these are all the things that I do really well. And these are all the things that you really need in order to navigate the transition. So the first thing I do really well, I have a really high tolerance for ambiguity and uncertainty. I am not going to rush you. We can hang out as long as you like and work through it piece by piece and be so slow and so deliberate. I know you want to get to an answer, so we're going to get to an answer. Don't even worry, right? But I'm not going to rush you to get there. I'm not going to shoot you with answer bullets from the answer gun. I have a really high tolerance for ambiguity, and I can help you actually figure it out without pressure, without urgency, and without rushing you. The other thing I'm really good at is I am really good at creating space for you to explore your thoughts, your wants, your desires, and your priorities. I'm not going to impose my opinion on you. I'm not going to assume that what I want is what you want. You probably don't want what I want, unless you also want to start a coaching practice. My guess is you don't want what I want, right? I already know that going in. I'm very aware that our wants differ, everyone's wants differ, all the wants and priorities are totally valid. And I know that you have got to solve for what you want because you're the one that has to live your life, live your career, right? And I'm really good at creating space for you to explore that and figure that out, but also at giving you language and structure to help you actually get to an answer about what you want. Like you're not going to wander around in the wilderness forever. We're going to get there, right? Because I've also got language and structure and precision for you, but also space for you to get to an answer that's yours, not mine, not your parents, not your peers, not your spouses, but truly your own answer to this question. I am also really good at helping people own what they want, own their desires, own their priorities, own the variables that they are solving for without shame and without apology. I don't have any moral judgment about what you should want or how you should live your life, unless you're like, my next career move is to be a serial killer, in which case I'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't think I can work with you, right? But assuming that your next career move is not to actively hurt a bunch of people, which I know that it's not going to be, right? I don't have any moral judgment about what it is that you want and what variables that you are solving for. And I believe very firmly you have got to own it. You've got to own it 100%, full-throatedly, no shame, no apology, no caveats, and just to be like, damn it, this is what I want. I'm going to live this life. So I'm going to just have to own it, right? And so I'm not going to be the one being like, you shouldn't want that. Your brain is probably going to be the one being like, I shouldn't want that. It's not practical to want that. It's lazy to want that. All of those moral judgments, your brain is going to generate those. And I am going to help you untangle that, right? And like find a new way of thinking about it so that you can own and validate and like really go after with like full ownership what it is that you want. And once we've done those things, I also am really good at helping you build and run an ongoing problem-solving process, right? I'm really good at helping you build the roadmap for how can you craft the answer. Given all the variables, given what you're solving for, now that you've owned it, how do you actually find the next thing that's going to work for you, right? How do you actually design what that role, that opportunity might actually be? Like, what's the strategy to figure out the strategy? Right? What's the process for figuring out the answer? That is also my expertise, and I'm going to help you design it. And I'm also going to walk with you every step of the way because the process is probably going to adjust and adapt as we go. It's rarely this like set in stone thing. I'm really good at like putting that first draft on paper and saying, great, this is how we're going to get started. Let's start here. And then as it evolves and as we figure things out together, we're going to keep updating it. We're going to walk together all the way through the end. And I am so happy to bring my pattern recognition, my expertise. I help people do this all the time. My clients all have kind of similar career profiles. I am more than happy to tell you, here's my hypothesis, here's my thoughts, here's what I'm seeing among my clients. If it's helpful to you, I'm always happy to engage in the problem solving, but I am not going to shoot you with answer bullets from the answer gun. I am not going to tell you this is what you should do, because that's the right answer, because Pooja said so, right? And that is why I think it is so freaking valuable to work with a coach in this process, right? To have someone who can tolerate that ambiguity, tolerate that uncertainty, help you tolerate the ambiguity and uncertainty for long enough that you actually get to the A+ answer versus like jumping to a B+ answer just because you can't stand the ambiguity anymore. So someone who can create the space for you to really think things through, tolerate the ambiguity and uncertainty, someone who can create space for you to really get clear on what you want and hear your own voice inside your head, to own it without shame, without apology, to really be like, damn it, this is my life and this is what I want to do with it. And then to actually help you build and design and run a process, right? That will get you to the answer, but really being like, let's make sure we have a good process for getting there so that we can feel really good about the outcome. So freaking valuable to work with a coach on doing all of this. Because like I said, your friends and family are amazing, but it's hard for them to do this, right? It takes a little bit of professional expertise to learn how to do all this stuff. And if you're just casually chatting with your spouse, like on the couch, or casually chatting with your friends, like on the phone or at a dinner party, chances are they're not doing all this for you, right? It's really hard. Now, the first step in this whole process, the first step to building the life and the career that you actually want, and the first step to successfully navigating this transition moment that you find yourself in is getting clear on what you want. And that is easier said than done. It is surprisingly hard for high achievers and frankly for people in general to even know what they want with clarity and precision, much less own what they want without shame or without apology, right? But if you are not clear and precise and well prioritized about what you want, the rest of the problem solving falls apart. You are literally solving for the wrong variables. Like if you don't nail step 1, steps 2 through 10 are completely moot. They're gonna lead you in the wrong direction. That might even be why you ended up where you are today, right? Just that's not the case for everyone, but sometimes when I say that, people are like, oh crap, that's why I ended up where I am right now. That's why this isn't working, is I wasn't crystal clear and precise, and I didn't own exactly what I wanted. I solved for the wrong variables, and so I got this answer, but it's not the answer I wanted. Now I'm having to make a change again, right? So that is the first and most crucial step to this process of navigating this transition and building the life and the career you actually want, which is getting crystal clear on what you actually want. And so what I want to tell you about, there is this freaking amazing tool that I have been using recently with my clients for exactly this, for getting crystal clear and very precise, and even getting a rank order prioritization about what exactly you want, the exact variables that you are solving for in your life and in your career. I have honestly been so impressed with this tool. I want to tell you, I am an intellectual snob. I like tools, frameworks, and assessments in the coaching world are a dime a dozen. The vast majority of them, I'm like, it's fine, whatever, right? This tool, as I've been using it on myself and with my clients, I have genuinely been so freaking impressed. I am like, this thing condenses like 5 coaching conversations into 20 minutes. And once you have the results in your hand, it kicks off such a rich and clear and precise conversation about what you want to do next, how you're going to figure this out, and how to navigate this transition and land in a really awesome spot that feels both externally successful and internally fulfilling for you. Genuinely, I think this tool is like a supercharger for clarity and for building the life and the career that you actually want. So if you want to try this tool out with me and get crystal clear on what you want and have a roadmap for what to do next and how to build your successful plus fulfilling career and life, right? Your life and career of aligned ambition, which is the whole reason we're doing any of this stuff. If you want to try this tool out with me, I want you to book a free career audit with me. The schedule link for that is in the episode description. Book your free career audit. And as you're booking it, there's a little form that you'll fill out. Just put into that form episode 496, right? That's the podcast episode you're listening to right now. Just put it in the little booking notes, episode 496. That way I will know that you came from this episode and that you specifically want to use this tool with me, right? So just put episode 496. That way I know you want to use the tool with me. And then what I will do once you've booked your call, I will send you an email with all the details, all the next steps, and how we're going to proceed from there. Okay. But I'm so freaking excited to use this tool with you. I've been loving using it with my clients. I've been using it aggressively on myself. Like I said, I'm not easily impressed, okay, with this stuff. There's a lot of this kind of stuff out there. I'm very picky. I'm very snobby. I don't bring stuff to my people and to my clients if I don't think it's really high quality and really helpful, because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to do BS. But I've really been impressed with this, so I would love to use it with you. Go to the episode description, book your free career audit. Just put episode 496 in the booking notes, and then I'll email you with all the details on what you need to do next. I cannot wait to talk to you, and I cannot wait for you to have that clarity and precision and rank order prioritization of what exactly you want, because once you know what you want, once you know the variables that you are solving for, actually solving for them is a million times easier. The hardest part is knowing what they are and owning it without shame and apology. That's what we're going to work on. And we'll also work on closing the gaps and actually getting all the things you want. So come talk to me, book your free career audit, put episode 496 in the booking notes, and I can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Aligned Ambition podcast. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and share this podcast with anyone you know that you think could use it. If you'd like to explore working together in a one-on-one coaching engagement with me, book a free consult call at poojavcoaching.com/contact. You can grab that link in the episode description. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or topics you want me to cover in this podcast, shoot me an email at pooja@poojavcoaching.com. You can grab that in the episode description too. Talk to you soon.